Hello and a very good morning to all of us. Karibuni sana to our Wednesday webinar series. This is ACCUREX and my name is Spirit Wanjiro. And I'm very happy to welcome you. And I think it's getting warmer in Nairobi. So I'm also hoping from wherever we are tuning in, it's also very warm on your part. So, but I see Kevin is in a jacket. What is happening? Where are you? But not to worry. But karibuni sana. Today we're having a very interesting topic, and I know especially people who are in the customer-facing side. The biggest question is what happens when I have a conflict with a client. A client is important. A client is meaningful to our businesses, but sometimes inevitably conflicts do happen. And sometimes also as much as we'll not want to admit, we've been on one side very difficult as customers. So what happens to us also when we face difficult customers? So this interesting topic we're about to break down, see how can we still manage client relationships despite conflicts having happened now or in the past, and also just trying to navigate the world of customer service. So Kevin is no stranger to our audience. So karibu sana Kevin. He brings in a lot of wealth of experience, especially from the customer facing side. And I know the regulars on our call, you always almost want to associate Kevin with customers. So thank you, Kevin, for joining us this morning once again. This is ACCUREX. We've been bringing you this Wednesday webinar series. I'm almost officially declaring Wednesday 11 a.m. ACCUREX o'clock because it's almost like I think we've booked it on your calendars the entire year. So we are a HR consulting company. We do so many things, including trainings like this ones that we've been giving you. We do team building, we do outsourcing. We have our new baby on the block, people HRIS. So there's so many things interesting about us. We are recruiting, and actually we are looking for a job. We have quite a number of jobs on our website, so that could also be an opportunity for you to interact with ACCUREX. So the structure of this webinar this morning, it's about an hour 15 minutes. So that's the structure of the webinar. We'll start with a presentation by Kevin, which will take about 45-50 minutes thereabout. Then we'll have a Q&A session at the very tail end. Thereafter, we'll also talk a little bit more about ACCUREX still and see how you can become our customers other than just being our webinar participants. So that is it from me, Kevin, and karibu sana, over to you.
Thank you very much, Purity. A round of applause kindly for Purity for that excellent introduction. For those who know me, or for those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Omolo. I have a wealth of experience in terms when it comes to issues of organizational development, and more so in the field when it comes to customer involvement and customer engagement and customer experience. I will move very steadfast towards our presentation for today. And it's also an interactive session. I encourage you to ask questions as you go on. You can do so in the chat box. You can put up your hand as well, and then I can respond accordingly. So we'll start with training objectives as always. Our first aim for this training right now here is to understand sources of client conflict, to learn the techniques for de-escalating tense situations, to develop effective communication strategies with our clientele, to handle difficult, I'll be using difficult in quotes, customer interactions professionally, and, to build stronger client relationships through conflict resolution. So those are the objectives that we aim to tackle around this. Understanding the sources of conflict, learn techniques to de-escalate tense situations, being the keyword, not to eliminate, to develop effective communication strategies, to handle difficult customer interactions professionally, and then finally to build strong client relationships through The story goes that there's once a customer who returned two snow tires to Nordstrom. They've done 50 miles, and I think they had a guarantee after 50 miles, if it doesn't meet your satisfaction, you can always return the product. At that time, Nordstrom, as I mentioned earlier, is a clothing company. However, the customer associate at that time, by the name of Chris, this is something like 40, 50 years back, decided, okay, he'll take back the tires. Why did he take back the tires? We might ask ourselves. Apparently, Nordstrom had decided to acquire different stores, and one of the stores it acquired used to be retailing in different items, clothing, and all the like, including tires. So at that point, the customer took back the tires and then gave the refund based on whatever was that. And that story has continued on for years and years. And at one time, during a podcast, Jack Nordstrom was asked if this was true, and he verified that that actually did happen. And he went and tracked down the customer care associate at that time, and what he did. So it's actually a true story. So what are the lessons we are learning in terms of that? This is one of those situations where we say could have been a difficult customer experience. From that, there are those key elements that we have seen. Since the story is legendary to date, that was an excellent marketing strategy, or has become excellent marketing for the company. Since the story to date is still well spoken of, even if you Google it or even go to your YouTube, you'll find it. It shows that the organization has a customer-centric attitude among its employees. And finally, one key aspect of that is it was able to build a loyal customer, because I can imagine if they were able to take the tires back in spite of the store having been closed, that customer must have come back for other things in terms of just based on that customer experience. So this, in a sense, is just to show us what is the significance of what we're discussing today when it comes to be able to manage and maintain those difficult customer experiences. Okay. At this point, I would like us to take a quick poll, and the quick poll, you can put it in a comment section, or you can even put up your hand to respond to it. So the quick poll is, the question to ask is, based on your experience and the choices that have been shared below, go through them individually. So based on your experiences and the choices that have been shared below, what is the usual, which is usual, not the textbook, the usual response during client conflict or when interacting with difficult customer situations? That is the usual response. Let's not look at the conflict. It's based on our experience, or we might have been the customers, or somebody else might have been the customer in our case. So, is it avoiding conflict? Is it defensiveness? That is refusing to accept the mistake. Do you find that we overgeneralize? Using terms such as, we never do that. This always works. This has never been the case. We psychoanalyze others, assuming that we know the motives of the client. We already think the client is out to get us. So it's a personal vendetta against our organization instead of taking it as feedback. Or do we not listen? That is, we do non-listening instead of acting directly to what they need. We just assume them through. Yeah. So you can put your hand, or you can go. Let me go to the comment section. I'm seeing so far the poll is polling D. D is the main issue. We psychoanalyze, and we assume we know the motives of the client or the customer. Okay, so that is very good. This gives me a better understanding in terms of where we are at, because most of the times we think we have the textbook solution, and but when it comes, we're always thinking in terms of, okay, what is this customer thinking about? So when you're psychoanalyzing, it's very rare that we're actually addressing the issue, or we get them to address the issue, and you'll see that going forward. Thank you very much. Is it a partner? Yes, I see you've given a response there. And Home Ventures, Thank you very much. I see your response in the chat box. I will come back to this if we have time after the Q&A session, and we can even review additional comments on the same. Okay, so thank you very much for that. So now we move on to what are the sources of this client conflict. Over there is a photo, and you can see the lady seems to be, from the facial expression, I don't think she's smiling. She seems to be following up on an issue. So this could be the textbook, a phone call or caller on the other side when it comes to a customer care. That is the state where they are. She's holding a card, and her hand is in a state of almost exhaustion. That I'm trying to explain something and it's not going through. So what could be the sources of this client conflict happen in terms of that? One common source is miscommunication or unclear expectations. This is a scenario where the customer already thinks a certain product or a certain service will be to a certain level, or you provide certain, if it's in the hotel industry, we're already expecting to have, if it's a room, they already have an expectation of what the room will look like. And it's based on what they see on the website. When they come to the ground, they find something totally different. And it could be, maybe when you are posting in the website, that time you had a professional camera, and which is usually the case, and you want to put our best foot forward. However, the reality on the ground might be very different. Or it could be that's the deluxe room, and I'm taking a standard room, and it wasn't pointed out to me. So those could be aspects of miscommunication or unclear expectations. It's not that it's anybody's fault at that point in time. It's just that things weren't made clear when maybe a booking was taking place. Yeah, it could be an issue with the service or the product itself. And this comes to the aspect of feedback. We find that sometimes we're given a product and in itself it's faulty, or the service in itself is not up to par as to expectation. And when the client tries to say, okay, this is what I felt, this is what I experienced, or this is what the food was like, we find ourselves in certain aspects that it's like a direct attack to us. So those are not that the direct attack, it's actually feedback they're giving on maybe the inadequacy of a service or a product they purchased. There could be issues of delays or unmet deadlines, especially when you have projects that have timelines tied to them. And this is especially the case where you have an aspect of product. There's a production, you're relying on somebody else to do the production so that you can sell a product to a customer, for instance. And when there are delays there, then the customer might have made a down payment or a deposit. And you yourself, you're trying to explain, but this is the case. I know you're supposed to have this product by this date, however, it's not coming. And then it delays again for another week, and then another week, and another week. This will generally tend to cause conflict. Another issue could be billing and payment disputes. This goes without saying. When you get a bill that is not yours, especially when it comes to utilities, this has been experienced. I've come to realize, because I work with the different utilities, or a consultant for different utilities, and nobody likes to pay the bill. And I never really understood it from their side until when I went to the ground with them. There are always disputes when it comes to, especially if it's water, there's always disputes at the end of the month. They're saying I did not spend this amount of water and the like. So they're holding there's somebody, oh, okay. I can admit, yes, I can say which is the access. So that is one of those aspects we get around. Another one could be an issue of personality clashes or emotional triggers. And I'll share a case and point. Just recently, I was deploying a project, and the project in itself had processes in between. But however, I had the CEO of the company that is deploying that is actually building the service in itself, and I had a client. So the client and the CEO were clashing because the client felt that the processes were too bureaucratic. For the other client, they wanted us to go to the ground and start and we finish. As in, we go and we complete. No surveys being done, no nothing. But the CEO, his procedure has to be followed. So the surveys is a matter. And in between, There's the person who now is in charge there. For the client side, there's a person who is in charge of payment. So the CEO is dealing with the person doing the payment. So those personalities in herself were clashing between her and the person on the ground, because the client on the ground feels like, I know the ground better. I know how I work with my people, or where we are going to deploy the project. So I should have more of a say. But the CEO is thinking, we need to commit to a survey first so that we can know what additional cost will be incurred, and there are civil works that need to be done, and something of the like. So now both were strong personalities, and you are put in the middle, and you are told, you go handle this. So they kept on giving feedback back and forth. So we gave those scenarios of happening, and they could escalate to an aspect where even work does not happen. Yeah. So based on those key sources of conflict, then I will encourage you to share one or two in terms of from those that we've shown there, whether it's some miscommunication or one thing that is recurrent. You can share there in the chat box. Any from that, be it miscommunication or a clear expectation, be it service or product issues, be it delays in the deadlines, be it billing disputes, or be it personality clashes. You can share in the chat box so that we can have an idea which seems to be the most rampant. And in case I've left any out, feel free to also share it with us there in the chat box, and you can always revisit during the Q&A. Yes. So now we've seen we are having this conflict happening. We've seen how they've come about, and we've seen the areas where they've come about. How do we de-escalate? Keep in mind, I'm using the term de-escalating, not eliminating. Why? Because in one way or another, as long as you have customers, as long as you're working somewhere, there might be an aspect of conflict arising. So we do not eliminate, we de-escalate the issue. So how do we start with that? So by de-escalating, we're thinking in terms of what techniques do I do? The internal. What do you do when somebody comes to you and they say, I'm having this and that issue with your product, I'm having this and that issue with the service you have offered? The first aspect will be ideally to try and stay calm and composed. Yes, and we've tackled this earlier when we were looking at aspects, for those who are there, of emotional intelligence. Yes, so we try and see are we applying those aspects of emotional intelligence that we were trained on earlier. So do I take in a deep breath, pause? Do I pause and ground myself first? Or I say, give me a moment, and then I ground myself if it's a phone call, and then I come back to it with a moderate voice. Yes. Yes. And that you are challenging your immediate thought, because the process will be, as we saw earlier from the poll, that immediately somebody brings in an issue or a complaint, our mode will be ideally, we're already preempting that they don't want to pay. And yet the complaint will be, is the service as far as what I paid for, or is the service exactly what I was promised, or something of that sort? Or could it be there was a misunderstanding? So first of all, we stay calm and try to be composed. It's more about you now. Yeah. Yes. The next point is we try and do active listening, preferably without interruption, which is very difficult, because if a customer is on a rant, yeah, it's very difficult, because you want them to get to the point, but then you have to allow them that aspect and pick out those key aspects of whatever it is they're complaining. In the earlier scenario, where there were two conflicting personalities that I was put in the middle, I realized the issue was the client on the ground, the person on the ground just wanted to be heard when any plan is being made. And to that effect, we did things as I went to the ground and did without the survey, and she saw it's taking too long, because every other time it will be an issue of things had to be procured for installment purposes. We had to do civil works, demolishing of walls here and there, so that establishing the network will happen. So in between, just took 2 hours, and I told her, usually this sort of installation, once we've done a survey, takes 15 to 20 minutes at most. However, the norm is 10 minutes, and we have the data to verify the same. Yes. So with that, I could be able to tell the issue was she was not included. So I was like, now, can we do the survey with you? So that at least you can see what we're doing. And then when you come next time, you can do the installations. So we halted installations happening and we were able to do the survey. So now at least she felt like she was part and parcel and she had a say in the same. So I found out that in that argument, the issue was she wasn't heard. So all I needed to do was to hear her out and then we discuss it. And she now becomes involved in the whole process. Yes. Another aspect could be acknowledge client feelings and concerns. Same as the earlier. Because sometimes it's an issue of this was her concern that if I have to do installations to each and every client and I have 44 clients, I have to knock in each and every premises and tell them we want to do the network within your house. And those are quote unquote exclusive clientele. They don't want interruptions. They're in their own compound, and they don't like the aspect of disturbance. So she felt like a one-off would have been easier. However, I also told her the clients don't like you spending too much time in the compound over and above. So in that way, we were able to address that clear concern that we will not inconvenience the client. Once we do the survey, it takes 2-3 minutes tops. And with that, we're able to do an installation for 10 minutes to 15 minutes. We even timed ourselves. So that will guarantee we don't spend 2 hours within a client's compound, which makes us look incompetent. Yeah. Another aspect is we should also use empathetic language. By that is once you focus on what the customer is saying, it's easier now to give a response based on what they're saying, not just thinking about giving back a quick response so that you can. I call it talking for talking purposes to feel the silence, because then you can talk, but then are you making sense to the person who's there? Do they feel like you've understood? So once they can see that you've understood them, then they're in a position to see, okay, this person is actually addressing my key issue here and here, and presenting for me a way forward based on my key issue. And that brings that back to emotional intelligence and things we've done or in the past, the trainings we've done in the past when it comes to aspect of customer retention. That we want the customer service to be very, very good, so that when you come back here, they feel like, yes, they're the most important and we understand them fully and wholly. Yes, another aspect will be to focus on the solutions and not the blame. This is one of the trickier aspects to do. Why? It's because sometimes when the complaint is being lodged, you are not the person, the person who's on the ground doing or working with the customer might not be the person who's also in customer care, or might not be the boss to whom somebody may make a call to. So the aspect is sometimes is we look into apportioning blame of customer calls, and the first question is who did that installation, and they're like, oh, hi, so and so is not so good. So and so, we're always getting complaints about this and the like. But then when you get that complaint and you say, okay, we are sorry for that experience you had. Let me see how I can assist you, or how I can resolve the issue. Yes. And then you go through the process. That's a very different response than throwing people under the bus. And it's also a very professional response in terms of that. So those are the key aspects that we look at when it comes to those techniques to de-escalate conflict. One, try to stay calm. And you can learn this from your emotional intelligence. I will encourage you. If you feel that it's still a challenge, go back to the drawing board and to review the notes, or even just research more on emotional intelligence and read certain works. Secondly, listen actively without interruption, preferably. And this you can practice even at home and see. Have a debate on an issue and see how patient are you to listen to the other party fully, or let them go through their thought process before you respond. And when you find that yourself you're going to interrupt, you can always shield your mouth kidogo, so that at least you don't interrupt the other party. There's one aspect of I have a friend who, when it reaches that point in her mind, she goes to Mungu nifunze kunyamaza. They go religious at that point. And she's now made it a mantra for her that when she gets in there, before she's handling clients or customers, she just says, Mungu nifunze kunyamaza. God help me. Let me let me learn. Help me be quiet. I don't know whether that's the direct translation. Sometimes I might butcher, but it sounds easier in Swahili. It hits the point. Acknowledge their feelings and concern. Do not preempt or prejudge or or psychoanalyze and say, from this one, this looks like this is the personality type I'm dealing with. Take time first of all and see where are they coming from, and then use empathic language. Yeah, that will help very much when it comes to, and it could be even by the aspect of what you ask. Like, am I to understand that this is the issue you're having with this product? That this is what you expected it to do and it's not doing this? Is this the concern you're having? Something to that effect. And even the tone of voice in itself has to change to be that aspect of you're bringing the client closer to show them your understanding. It cannot be raised now. And then focus on the solution, not on the blame. Let's not throw everybody or somebody under the bus. Yes, no matter what position we are in. Yes. Okay. From here, we are seeing one of the key aspects to help in terms of de-escalation, de-escalating a situation. We are drawn towards aspects of communication. And at this point, I feel it's only right that we look at what are the communication strategies that we can employ towards helping to de-escalate, because everything has to do with communication. Even at that point of conflict, you can either escalate it based on how you're communicating. If you come to me and you're arguing out on a point and I keep on negating your point, it is likely that for the situation will escalate because you'll feel like I'm not willing to listen. Yeah. So an effective communication strategy is essential in promoting understanding, de-escalating tense situations, and preserving customer loyalty and reputation. Dale Carnegie says, in an argument, even if you win, you still lose. And if you lose, you still lose. Why? Because you might end up losing a friend at the end of it. So winning an argument is not the best thing, but resolving a debate or an issue or a conflict issue is better because you make a friend. So that could be when we are maybe at loggerheads, but then we discuss and then we reach an amicable understanding. We might end up being better friends. And I'd encourage at this point in time to look at his works, and you can even get the audio of how to influence friends and influence people, because that's the main aspect of things when we come to issues of conflict. You think in terms of how can I de-escalate and how can I turn it into a positive, the experience in itself. So therefore, one can use clear and respectful language. And I know sometimes it's very difficult, especially for those at the front end or at the customer care desk. And then we've seen even nowadays people take videos on the same. Case in point, I remember where in KQ there was an aspect of somebody throwing a used sanitary towel at somebody who's doing ticketing at the airport. And at that point, for me, it's not an aspect of, I will have, the aspect of turning the other cheek is very difficult at that point in time. But you could see in terms of that, the customer care still remains because we cannot, we're trying to assist, but it's beyond us. We would like to help you, but we cannot. Yeah. But no use of foul language was witnessed from the side of customer care. And at that moment, that will be the aspect, the first thing you might find yourself blurting out. So if it's clear and respectful all through, even the other party now starts to review and think, okay, are my actions even justified at this point in time? Yes. Mhm. Okay. Ask clarifying questions. Yes, because it's one thing to prejudge and to assume you already know what is being said or you already know where somebody's headed, but seek clarification first to know, okay, am I in the right thought process or am I in the wrong thought process? Because you might end up giving responses for something totally wrong and you might be cutting somebody off, which might further escalate the situation. So you can always ask to clarify. You're like, okay, am I to understand you bought this and it did not do 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 things? Okay. Aha. So, okay. Yeah, yes. Yeah. So this is the issue that you're having with the room. It's not clean. Okay, so let me try and send somebody to clean it up for you. We apologize for the inconvenience. It's not just a general, this customer always complains when they come here. It could also be a specific issue and it's a genuine issue. But at the end of the day, the customer is always right mentality might help you in terms of that. Yes. Another aspect could be to try and paraphrase, yes, to confirm understanding. It's just saying the same thing, but using different words. Yes. And that will help to see, are you understanding it the way it's being said? Because there are sometimes it could be issues of the vocabulary that has been used. For instance, I can imagine if you're handling PLO as customer care and he uses the Queen's English, the very, very high English at that point in time. Yeah. So things might be misunderstood in terms of what is explaining. Yes. And you can use phrases like to perform, I cannot perform, how, the way he speaks. So at that point in time, you might need a thesaurus or a dictionary. But then you can still go back and paraphrase and say, is it the aspect of understanding how this has happened? Stuff like that, so that you can be all on the same page by the time you're finishing. Yeah. And no one is a monopoly or has a monopoly of knowledge or monopoly of words. So it's always good to understand. And then maintain positive body language. Yes. I found it very good to always smile. There was it was 2 weeks back. There was an organization who were hosting a breakfast conference, a breakfast meeting, because we are launching some sort of curriculum. And they had interns from the organization. And the one thing I noticed, because it was the first time the interns were being placed there at the front desk, and they were supposed to usher people in as they come to attend the launch. The funny thing is, none of them seemed to be able to smile, and they look like they are very anxious and very serious about the whole process. And I told them, yes, I know we have dignitaries, because one of them was a CS in the ministry. But if you can afford to just smile, yeah, when people come in, just say, hi, how are you? And you're smiling. It creates a very different environment from how they were looking, because all of them just seem to be very nervous. They just seem to want to get it right. I told them, ease the tension a bit, smile a bit. And funnily enough, it's been proven that even the visually impaired, when you smile at them, somehow, somewhere, they know you're smiling at them. And they even react differently or respond differently in terms of how they're being approached. So a smile goes a long way, and you're encouraged to always smile. Yeah, that's one of the things. Look welcoming, don't look very intimidating. Yes. And then avoid defense or aggressive responses, which is usually the go-to. We want to defend our product to the T. We want to defend my services to the T. I offer the best, and it's always good, 100%. There's no aspects of at one time I will have faltered. So it's always good to avoid, first and foremost, the first aspect of wanting to be defensive. And this is very, very difficult. I don't know whether in your workplace, by a show of hands, you've never found yourself being defensive. If you've never found yourself being defensive, you can put your hand up. I see there's none that has come up. And I don't want to prejudge, but yes, it's very difficult not to find yourself at one time or another being on the defensive side when you're accused of something. But I guess it's more of the norm. And you'll find that sometimes even the defensive or aggressive response it depends on who's asking or which department is asking. And in NGO world, I know finance and project implementation, they usually have that back and forth. Finance is usually asking for receipts. Project implementation is telling them, we did the proposal, we go to the ground, I am in the middle of nowhere. How do I get a receipt for services rendered? And I'm using locals there. Finance tells them, if you don't get receipt, then you don't get reimbursed for what you spent. Now it becomes an issue of you finance, you don't understand, and you never will. So any other meeting when finance is standing up to just say we need to get supporting documents, you'll find that project or programs is always standing up and tell you finance they do not understand the situation on the ground. So we've looked at those key communication strategies, and I like that Washington has given us an example in terms of when you want to de-escalate a conflict, body language plays a very key role. And one body language could be, don't approach somebody like you're going for war, like a war stance, with your hands clenched, but with open arms, so they say. When you say, okay, hi, there's that aspect of, there's the gestures you might make, there's the demeanor, there's how your facial structure is looking like. And if you have that quote unquote personal face, sometimes it's not bad, but to try and look in the mirror and see how best can I try and look more approachable. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much, Washington. I like that that example you've given us. Now, how do we handle difficult customers or difficult customer situations? Yeah. And first and foremost, I would just like to say, often they are difficult, and I'm using difficult in quotes here because our customers are our customers. So, customer is king. So, often they're difficult because they are unhappy with part of the service, product, or the customer experience. So, let me highlight that again. Let me repeat it because it's bear repeating. They're difficult in quotes because they are unhappy with what? The service, product, or customer experience. So it's not that they are difficult with Kevin. They're difficult because they are unhappy with Kevin, or they are unhappy with Jim, or they are unhappy with, yes, Washington. No. It's about the service, product, or the experience. So first and foremost, then it means it's not personal. So we shouldn't take it personal, or we should try as much as we can not to take it personal. We think about, okay, what was their customer experience? And I gave the earlier example of where I'm supposed to deploy a project, but there are two parties. One is the person who has given me the contract, which is the CEO and boss of the company I'm representing. The other is the second in command of the company that wants the service. And they're both in conflict and you're placed there. And both of them are telling you, do this. And the other one is telling you, no, you do this. So how do you handle that? So that was the customer maybe experience at that time in terms of how are they onboarded on, in terms of this is how we will do. Or are they there in the discussions in itself? So it's never personal, first and foremost. Okay. One, again, it bears repeating, remain professional at all times, as much as you can. If you find that it's becoming an issue, write down whatever message you want with your first thought and think about if it's an email that you want to respond to, if it's a WhatsApp you're sending in terms of that, or if it's an SMS, or if it's a phone call. First and foremost, think of, okay, this is my initial thought. Does my initial thought help when it comes to issues of resolving the issue to find a solution? Or does my initial thought, is it going to hamper us going forward? And sometimes it's very difficult because it's within a short time frame. Sometimes you're there on the ground in itself, and the customer is there, and you have maybe your colleagues, and the customer is telling you in a very heightened voice that this will not work, and this is not, and I'm not happy about this and that and the other and the like, and it's giving you a proper lecture. One of the aspects is I've learned is first and foremost not to respond. I call the customer aside, and then we have a conversation, and I say, okay, I understand this could be the issue. Can we try and sit down on something? Mhm. I remember one time I went for an installation, and when we arrived on the ground, the lady was very, 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 very angry because the person who was supposed, the technical staff who was supposed to do the installation was a no-show. And that's the first thing. So luckily enough, I called my boss at the time and she said, okay, you do this. First buy everybody lunch because you've arrived there at, it's almost noon, buy everybody lunch. So just ask her what she wants to have for lunch. And we started. And luckily enough, it was a terrific Tuesday. And we're like, we'll piece our work for you. We can get to toppings of your want if you want extra toppings and the like. And the lady, for some reason, not that she can't afford pizza. In fact, she's very, very rich, to be honest. But then the aspect that she's like, oh, somebody's buying me lunch today. And it's not only me, but it's also some of my two colleagues who are there with me. It de-escalated the situation. I'm not saying we go and spend money, but the first and foremost thing is the approach in itself. Is like, let's discuss this over lunch. Yes. So even in terms of the approach is very different from what she's used to. For her, she's used to the back and forth in terms of, and that's what she was anticipating. So when you keep it professional, then at that point they realize, okay, you're here to resolve the issue, not to defend whatever product or service you're offering. Secondly, set clear boundaries when needed. That is, it should not be such that we are at a point of even assault, where people are trying to, are almost being physically and verbally abused to that extent. So if that is the case, you can even try, excuse me, you can try and professionally put it out and tell the client, okay, I understand it's a certain issue, but kindly, this is what I will propose, because at this point in time, I feel like the tempers are flying. Can we try and maybe just tell me in just simple terms what you would like us to address when it comes to this and that and the other? And if it's an issue of people coming now to the point of blows, it is also good to avoid. And I see this mostly in nightclubs, where you find the bouncers at a nightclub. They try and de-escalate the issue to avoid that aspect of violence thrashing out, and it will be restraining somebody as an option. However, it might not be the easiest option. Sometimes it's an issue of calling security to come so that the client can be placed in a certain room. So once she comes down, she can come back and even address the issue. So sometimes it's looking at that aspect. We cannot always say that situations will not have such risky scenarios. Another one is offer practical solutions and alternatives. And that is the thing. They have to be practical, not another impractical solution, something that is way outside what the customer is thinking. If the customer tells you this product is not working for me, they're offering something more expensive that they cannot afford at that time. They say so it's being practical within what the needs of the customer are. Otherwise, this will lead to the aspects of other expectations being heightened. And then another one will be try to escalate to management when necessary. When necessary, escalate to management when necessary. Not the first place. Why? Sometimes an issue you find you are unable to handle it yourself, and it needs decisions from above. I remember there was one time I had a client, and we were doing managed services for them for the product they're offering. However, this managed services relied on a third party with an annual subscription fee, which they had failed to pay consistently until it had accumulated to well over a substantial amount. So that means they were cut off from the services now. However, the interesting thing was every time I would call, he will be dismissive to my phone call, and he will say, "You handle it." And I will be like, okay, I cannot handle it because you need to work on a payment plan so that the third service provider can guarantee that we will still be online or something to that effect, at least once they have that payment plan. So in such a situation, I found myself as I had to go now to the management and tell them, okay, this is the situation. We cannot commence like this because without this, then we can no longer provide whatever we need to your clientele. So kindly talk to the person in charge and tell them that they need to go discuss our payment plan. Once they discuss that payment plan, then come back to me. And at that point, I found that he was more responsive to management than to me. And within less than a week, everything had been resolved. So sometimes we find that we are struggling with the same thing for months on, yet the either situation is just escalate, get the proper management person to deal with it, and it could have even taken a few hours. And whereas you are continuing with that struggle, trying to resolve it yourself, you'll find that the customer is being angry, is being agitated, as in it feels like they've already paid for something that they are not going to find, that they are being swindled, and they're not offering a refund. And some might even end up losing more customers in such scenarios. So escalate to management when necessary. Okay, and then document interactions for reference. Don't die with the information. It is always good to have, even if it's FAQs, where you can say these are frequently asked questions, or these are situations we've had in the past, and this is how we resolve them. It's good to have those debrief sessions of this is what we did last week, this is how I resolved the issue, this is how successful I am. So let us have a database or an information base or a means of sharing that information. Let it not die with individuals, such that when a similar situation arises, tunasema hiyo inakuanga ya Kevin, hiyo inakuanga ya Purity, hiyo si yetu, or such and such client is for somebody else to handle, it's not for us. Let's try and avoid those situations. Okay. And finally, which is one of the mantras we have, is try as much as you can to stay calm under pressure. Try as much as you can. Always stay calm under pressure. Why? Because your calmness will reflect on your audience or on your customer. And even for them, they will start realizing, okay, I'm shouting, I'm actually very loud. Okay, I can bring it down a bit. Okay, I see, they're actually trying to listen to what I'm saying. So let me be more clear in terms of, okay, what they're seeking to understand. And that means, even for me, when I'm talking to a customer, I talk with a different voice when it comes to those issues. I won't be as loud as when I'm doing a presentation. I'll find myself with the base that I have, trying to be more in a consoling voice to try and handle the issue. Yes. Okay. So we've looked at aspects of communication. We've looked at how conflict is coming about. We've looked at handling different customers. So do we have a resolution framework? That now we have all that. Do we have a process that we follow in case a situation arises? So at that point, this brings us to the next slide of having a customer resolution framework. And this will be act as a guideline. So you apply all those aspects, all those other skills, but within a certain structure. So one of them will be identifying the issue. Work towards identifying the issue. Yes. And once you know the issue and understand it using those other techniques, you come to the aspect of you've listened and now you're empathizing. You have identified the issue, you have listened, now you're empathizing. Show empathy. Show that you've clearly understood the issue. Okay, you've listened to what they have said, and now you are very empathetic and you're very sorry for what they're passing through. Yes. So by that, once you empathize with them, you're able to now clarify, okay, what the expectations are, even from that. So now we've empathized. So these were the expectation. This is what you wanted. This is what you are seeking. So this is what you wanted as a response. So based on that now, you move down to the aspect of, okay, now we are clear. Are we together on that? Okay, we are clear. So now let me move on to the aspect, okay, if we do one or two things, we're exploring different solutions. Will that work for you? Yeah. If maybe if we send so and so, and because they are the expert, will that help you? If it's an issue of maybe you are having one example is with the water utilities. If there is an airlock and the caretaker keeps on saying there's an airlock in this house, or this house is not getting water, the client themselves or the tenants themselves tell them, okay, can we bring a plumber or a technician to come and remove that? So they'll need access to your house as well. So can you grant them access? So you are thinking in a different line now. You're thinking very different. If it's in the, you're now trying, if it's a hotel situation, there's a double booking. You've already seen, oh yes, this is the person, they're coming in. This is a VIP. That the VIP who is supposed to get that deluxe room. You try and say, okay, can we work, maybe can we give him a deluxe option? Will that work? Or can we explore the rooms that are available? Will this work? Or can we give him even a villa if we have one? Will this work? Now you're trying to explore different aspects of something. So there's always that aspect of you can explore possible solutions once you've clarified what the expectations are. And now, after that, you now agree on the actions and steps. You say, okay, so we've reviewed. This is what we'll do. Step one. Yes, we will make sure the room has this and that and the other. Yes, we'll make sure that they're dropped here and there and in. We'll include. So now you are talking in terms of, we've already explored the solutions. Now we have agreed on the steps that we're going to take, and now we are being very proactive. So if it's an issue of a product that the customer is saying is an issue, and it's a repair job that needs to be done, or it's a site visit that needs to be done, we've already agreed. When are you available? Is it on a Saturday? Can we send our technical team to your premises on that day? Between which hours are you available? Okay, sir. So we'll send so and so. We'll send you the contact for so and so. You'll come on a Saturday. So you're already agreeing on the steps. And the key thing is, once you agree on the steps, make sure you deliver on them. Don't make another excuse on that Saturday when you're supposed to deliver and say, "Aye, by the way, there was AFCON happening, so Kasarani we could not reach in Kasarani area because now the client was expecting you by that time. So you're giving another excuse of a timeline and the like. So it is very, very important that once you agree on the steps, you follow through. Yes. And then by following up on them, now ensure resolution. By that it means to you've done the steps, you've sent so and so to the field, and they've already seen the customer and they're giving you a report. Call the customer back and ask them, okay, has your issue been resolved? Can we close the ticket? Or you can even call back and say, is it working well? Is it working as expected? Yes. Are you liking whatever product you have? Is it better now? If it's an issue of something that was replaced. So there are those key aspects you need to look at once you're done with that, with the aspect of we have already resolved the issue, but have we done that key aspect of follow-up as per what was raised earlier? Don't just ask general questions. Just ask specific questions as to what the issue was. In terms of, we remember you had said this and this was the issue you're having with this product. Is it now working as per? Okay. Are you still having challenges with this? Okay, so thank you very much. Now we can close the ticket. And in case of anything, always feel free to call us. So it was good to have that resolution framework. And at this point, yes, David, I see you've asked whether we'll be sharing the slides. Yes, I'll contact, I think through Purity and the ACCUREX team, we'll be able to see how they can get the slides to you. Yeah, but I'll confirm that later on. So now we've done everything. We have a framework. We already know how we are resolving issues. So what is our main aim? The main aim is turning that aspect of conflict situation into a positive. By that, it means retaining a customer. If you remember my first case story for Nonstorm were able to handle the aspects of, you brought us tires, we are selling clothes. But since you bought it at that time and we bought that store, and all we did is we stopped stocking this product. We took it back and we give you a refund. Most likely it's that customer will come back and say, now I'm coming back, now I know what you guys are selling, but because of my experience here, definitely I've referred even others because the story must have gone out. And I don't think it's the Nordstrom staff that sent out the story. So it's the same thing. So the customer must have been the ambassador by then. So if he must have been coming back again and buying clothes from that. So think about that, if nothing else, think about that tire story for Nordstrom. So how do we build that strong client relationship? One, be proactive in communication. I can never emphasize this point enough. And I always like to go to my default example of, I like the way that internet service providers will tell you we are going to experience downtime because we are going to do maybe something of that sort. And maybe this might be a controversial example to give. I like the way Kenya Power will always issue a notice and tell you on this day, between the hours of this and this, you will not have power. And I know most will say Kenya Power doesn't give them notice. I'm just saying, I like the aspect that they do give some notification. Yes, Anthony is laughing. Okay, so be proactive in your communication. Deliver on promises consistently. It is good to under-promise and over-deliver than to over-promise and under-deliver or not deliver at all. So be realistic in terms of what you're promising, and if you can go over and above, very good. Because you've delivered over and above, so the people will be very happy and they'll be willing to either retain your services or your product and to refer you to other people, because they'll be like, and you find even us, we do that the same. We're like, hey, which experience are you having with so and so? If it's especially for ladies when it comes to issues of their hair being done, they're like, yeah, that is the thing. Let me give you this number. You just call. She will do a great service to you. You cannot complain. If it's issues of your nails being done at the right price, affordable price, and they guarantee you that it will be excellent. You like whatever she does, something of that sort. So it's the same even when it comes to issues of handling those conflict situations. Okay, show appreciation for your client loyalty. By this we mean aspects of following up. We are like, thank you very much for the feedback. We are happy to have resolved the issue, and we thank you for always being a loyal client to our organization. Do not dismiss the client and say, finally we are done with that client. Let us, we hope it's not to happen again. Show them that, yes, we appreciate their feedback. Their concerns are your concerns. And still, we appreciate that they still want to come back and give you that feedback because you truly appreciate it. And in case of anything, they should not hesitate to come back. Yeah. And learn from past conflicts. And that's what we are saying, aspects of documentation. So by the time something is arising again, we don't reinvent the wheel. We already have a framework we're working with. We already know how it was resolved, and that is the best way. I'm not saying all complaints are generic. I'm just saying if you can work with a similar framework, it eases your work in terms of that. And also to avoid further escalating the issue. Yes. So if you know somebody said something and it's escalated the issue with someone, don't go and start from there. Just learn and say, hey, by the way, last time, how did you resolve the issue? And they'll tell you, hey, by the way, don't go to this and this department and mention aspect of this and that. There it will be fire. So if you want so and so to help you, start with this and the other. So sometimes we find that knowing that, then it also helps us in terms of even our approach beforehand. Yeah. So always rely on people in terms of that. Okay. Another one is foster trust through transparency and accountability, which is one of those aspects of if something does not work, don't force issues. And sometimes we might have in a batch of 100 products that we've sold, maybe one was not so good. Let's not try and justify and say it should work because 99 have worked. Let's just be open and transparent and say we are very sorry for that product having not worked. And some companies are very good when it comes to aspects of making those conflict situations become the opportunity in terms of to win customers and to sell their story or to get market. And one example will be Amazon. When a delivery when a delivery fails and they say that they've already delivered, Amazon, and they track and they say, okay, it was actually not delivered at where it was supposed to. The likelihood is Amazon will send you another product or package. Yes. Later on, when your delivery comes, they will not ask, did that other delivery that never came through come, or did that other parcel come? So you'll find that they will not follow up on your two laptops. If maybe now this second one is fully delivered, and then later on the other one comes through, they will leave you be. And they say, as long as you're happy that finally we've delivered. If you say we are delivering by the day and it didn't come by the day and there are issues and they can't trace where the issue was, they send you another product to replace the other. They're very quick in that. So sometimes it's good to say, okay, our services do not work as per. Let us as quick as we can resolve the issue. Yeah, and we are accountable for that. We say they are there, we drop the ball on that. So it's very key to be very clear when it comes to issues of transparency and accountability. So at that point, I have finished my slides. I want to move forward to the Q&A session. And I want us to look at in case you have any questions to ask. And put them down. Yes, David, you asked again, will you share the slides? I've sent it to the ACCUREX team. They will confirm in terms of sharing the slides with you as well. So thank you very much for that. Any other question as regards our presentation for today? Any feedback? You can put your hand up. Anybody who wants to add something? Yeah, first issues. Yes, what is telling me. Yeah. Okay, that sorry, I'm trying to scroll up. Yes, David. I see your hand is raised.
Kevin.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Do we start with David? David,
Yes.
your hand is up. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Kevin. That was very insightful,
Okay.
especially on the areas. I would say your presentation was very well balanced, because from the source of the conflict, how do we de-escalate the conflict, the strategies in terms of communication, how we handle
Thank you.
those key customers and very difficult. You see, the people that are very difficult are our key customers, because
That is true.
I know they feel entitled, and maybe they are talking to the boss and you are the one serving them. And they know they
Yes.
can trust you any moment. But this gives us very good insight on how we can manage that and keep the business and also still retain our jobs. That is
Yes.
very key for us. And then, of course, there is also conflict resolution framework. This is very interesting, because without knowing where the problem is and being able to empathize,
Yes.
one thing I really learned and is very key is we need to know how we agree on the next step. This is one area that we have always missed.
Yes.
We agreeing on the next step, and of course, what is in it for me as the service provider. I need to know what I'll do, and also as Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, what are you going to do? Because it is a collaborative solution. And
Yes.
then, of course, we need to know the other thing that I also very much learned is we need to be very practical.
True.
Like you said, it's better to under promise and over deliver. That is very key for me. So for me, I need to be reading those slides every day, so that I master it, but it has really gone into my heart. Thank you so much. And thanks to ACCUREX for organizing this. It came at the right time.
Okay. And thank you very much for your feedback, David. You appreciate the same. Thank you very much. A hand for David in terms of the feedback.
Yes. So that was really good, and thank you so much. Caroline, I see your hand is up. All right, perfect. Kevin, fortunately, do we say unfortunately, we don't have any questions.
Okay.
The questions that I'm getting is around the presentation. Normally, there's
Yes.
a feedback form running on the chat box. So once you fill out that feedback form, you're able to receive a certificate if you are in need of a certificate from this particular session, and also you get an email with the training materials. So these are things that we share on your email. So feel free to give us also your feedback, especially from the session. Do you like even the trainer even? Kevin, because they
Definitely.
can quickly fire you. Yes, but just give us the feedback. Give us suggestions of these topics. Like this particular topic came from our past audience. So I also want to say we're also listening to you. We are interested in the topics you're also interested in, because our agenda, especially with this workplace masterclass, is just to make wholesome employees in our organizations. So, and this is a method of learning which we call micro learning. You pick one topic, you learn it in the shortest time possible. So, like these difficult customers, it's only taken us 1 hour, and it's small bite size. But you can imagine now we are approaching December. I'm surprised if you joined us for the first session in January, what kind of a transformation will have gone through just attending small topics that are relevant to the workplace, and also able to learn it in the shortest way possible. So Faith, I see your hand is up. Do you want to talk to me? Faith? All right, I think that is
Okay.
it. So just leave us, especially like Grace, leave your email or the feedback form. That way you're able to be guaranteed you'll get the presentation points. But thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday morning and afternoon. We're very excited to always bring you these interesting topics. Next week, we also have a hot one. So always tune in, just see what you're able to do. You can join our WhatsApp community. We have a WhatsApp community that runs. You can always visit our website. You're able to see what upcoming webinars we have. We have the free ones, we have the paid ones. So pick your poison from our website. And also we are, as I said, we are ACCUREX anyway, we are the major sponsors of these webinars. So and we do HR consulting work, we do team building. Now it's almost the team building season. So if your company is organizing a team building, you better get also a quotation from us and see what we are able to do for you. If you are thinking about an NDR party, we are the team to talk to. So, and also among other things, we do recruitment. I think this I mentioned earlier. Currently, we have a few openings available in our clients' locations. So if that's also something you're looking for a job, visit our website, see what job you can pick from there. Of course, we'll go through the entire recruitment process, the interviews, and all of those before placement. But we have very exciting opportunities that I must say in very diverse industries, oil and gas. We have the hotel industry. We have there are a couple of industries we are currently recruiting for. So just visit our website or even our social media pages. You're able to see where you can plug in for that effect. So that is it from us this morning. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again next week. Make sure you leave us some sort of feedback. It really helps us to model these training programs for you. So that is it from our entire team at ACCUREX. Thank you so much also the ACCUREX team on the back end who are making sure that everyone is here, the presentations are on point and all of that. So thank you so much and have a very wonderful afternoon.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.